Well, it's kind of a funny story. So I became paralyzed in 2019, and it wasn't until about a year or 2 years after, yeah, 2021. So I started shooting in March of 2021 because Ricky and I were just like going down the highway, and I was just sitting there, and I was about 2 years in, and I had so much time on my hands, and I was like, I can't work a traditional job. I can't, like do things that are fulfilling in my eyes. So I was like, well, why don't I start with a hobby? Find something that interests me, something I've never done before, something that is different. So we were just going down the highway, and I was like, archery. Why not archery? Like, I had never tried it before. It would just like never, the opportunity never came to me. Like, I know that they do programs and stuff in high school, but I was just never aware of them. And I had it pop into my head, and I look at Ricky and I'm like, we're gonna shoot archery. And he looks at me, he goes, really funky. He like looks at me really funny, and he's like, but your hands don't work. And I'm like, okay, but like we'll figure it out. There's ways to figure it out. So I went on Google. It was just a simple Google search. And I looked up an adaptive sports program in my local area. I found the All People Center here in Tampa. And it all just went from there. I sent an email to the head coach, and I was like, hey, his name's Earl Brown. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in your program. Can I get some more details? Like, can I come out? What does this look like? And he's like, yeah, come on out. So the following week, we went to All People's, and I took my first shot. I actually have a video of it. And we did it with a mouth tab, and it was just like a basic setup. I was falling over. I was dropping the bow because my hands don't work very well. So I was dropping the bow every time I would release the shot. And my first shot, I hit the target. And in the video, you can hear Ricky go, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. And I was like, okay, what's the end game for this? What is the biggest competition that you can do? Sorry, I'm ranting. But I was just like, what's the biggest competition that you can do? And my mentor at the time was like, well, you could go to the Paralympics. And I was like, okay, well, when is that? And what I didn't really understand at the time what the Paralympics really meant and what kind of a movement it was. I was just not very exposed to the world of people with disabilities as an able-bodied person, which is kind of sad, but anyway, so I asked him, what does that look like? When is it? And he told me it was in 2024, and I was like, let's go. It was in that moment I was like, let's go. We're going to go to the Paralympics. And that's when I decided, and that's kind of how I found archery. See, that's really hard. I'm going to be super honest with you. That's really hard for me because I'm into my equipment. I know my equipment, but I know it more by feel, not by name, if that makes sense. So I'm not the kind of person that like switches bows very often, so I don't have experience with testing different bows. So I can't tell you, oh, this is my how-to, this is my trick. But I just go with whatever's natural for me and what feels smooth and what feels comfortable. And I know people say that a lot, like, oh, you have to do what's best for you. And you don't really know until you try, but I've gotten really comfortable really quick with having to adapt to different things. So it's hard for me to notice differences in bows because I am still really early on. So that's kind of a hard question for me to answer. No, I haven't really. I've tried indoor. I haven't really explored very many things just because I haven't been shooting for very long. It's only been about 3 years now. So I haven't really had the opportunity to just dive in, and it's really expensive. So like the lack of funding is there. So like there's the funding piece and the fact that I just haven't really had the time or the opportunity. I want to. I really want to. I want to explore and see what else is out there and, get respect for what other people do. But I just haven't really had the time or the ability because I've been so focused on what I've been trying to do. You're going to have to bleep this out. But the best advice that I've ever received was from Leah Coriel, and she said, KFG, keep going. And that stuck with me. I'm like, that's so true. Like, you just have to keep going. So, like, I'm a relatively new spinal cord injury in the grand scheme of things. I'm only 4 years in. So my body is still kind of leveling out. So it's really hard for me to predict from day to day if I'm going to feel strong enough or if I'm going to feel well enough to be able to shoot the way that I need to. I try to aim for 3 to 5 days a week. Again, it really all depends on my body and how it's feeling and if I'm really up for it, I guess you could say, because I don't like to pick up bad habits. I don't want to train if I'm not feeling well or like if, just things aren't going right. So I want to make sure that I'm at my peak so that I'm making muscle memory to be at that peak all the time. Whew. See, again, I'm so new. That's so hard for me to answer. Like, people ask me, like, how do you do this or how do you do that? I'm just like, I think I really need to start being more introspective, I guess, because to learn really what that means and what a beginner archer would have to do so that I can better explain to people and better educate people. But honestly, I'm really not sure. I can't give any super expert advice because I shoot so differently and have shot so differently. I've never picked up a bow able-bodied either. So I don't know necessarily what proper form would be for them. I just know what proper form is for me and what works for my body, if that makes sense. Ooh, honestly, like, not necessarily steps, but like just lots of patience and like working through things and learning and really just like having fun. I know, like, I always say this, always, but like I'm always just having a really good time when I shoot my bow. Even if I am shooting and I don't feel very well, like the fact that I'm doing it and I'm there, like I just have so much fun. So like kind of steps, you got to start with a dream and you got to start with a big idea that like scares the crap out of you and something that just makes you so happy and so excited and like can open opportunities for you in so many ways that like it just is unbelievable. So like start with a scary thought or a really fun idea, like scary big, and then work hard at it and enjoy it and just keep doing it and just keep going and enjoy your time doing it and spread the love, and eventually it just all comes around full circle. My first coach, honestly, it was just a Google search. It wasn't really anything crazy. I went on Google, looked up an adaptive sports program here in Tampa, and the email for the head coach at All Peoples came up. And I sent them an email, and we were just going back and forth, and they invited me in to try shooting and to figure it out, and we did. I like to go through a checklist in my head. So I really break down my process as far as it can go and take that checklist, because it's different for everyone. I take that checklist and I really just fine tune things step by step. Go through the checklist and I have fun with it. Like I play a game and I'm trying to think of like what else I do to improve my form. I listen to my coach. I listen to my coach. I listen to what he's saying and what he's emphasizing, like especially my follow through. I struggle with my follow through. And yeah, I just pay super close attention and try really hard to focus. Yeah, I try to beat myself every round or every shot. Like, okay, like say I shoot a shot and it was like in the 9 but kind of to the right. Okay, how can I make that better? Or what did I do last time to try and make it again? Say if it hit a 10, like I just play that back and forth game trying to beat myself. I'm really honestly, I've been trying to exercise more because I've always been one that really likes to go to the gym, and I feel like it's really good for my mental health. I try to meditate every morning. I try to go through my process. If I can't sleep at night, I'll think about my process until I fall asleep. I talked to a psychiatrist and a psychologist, the sports psychologist and psychiatrist, and that's super helpful because like I went through a lot of trauma, so that can like mess with things, right? So I've just been working on a lot of things with them and just making sure that everything is in check. Ooh. I haven't done much research, so I haven't been really looking at everything, and I want to keep it a surprise, so I'm not really sure. I'm just excited to go. I'm just excited to be there and see everything. I don't know. I can't give you a specific answer. I just can't believe it, you know, that we went from, like, if I showed you, we were going through pictures earlier today of like when I first started, when I first got out of rehab and what that looked like. And it was so, I like inspired myself, and that was a really cool feeling. I've never felt that with myself before because, you know, everybody struggles with like mental health issues or like self-doubt or imposter syndrome or what have you, anything of the line of self-doubt. And it's just like, I inspired myself. And it was a really cool, like, awesome moment, you know? Seeing all these things that we've done and like thinking about the Paralympics, it's just like, holy crap, we're going, you know? It just doesn't feel real. I feel so strange about it sometimes. I, I feel like, not like I don't deserve it, but it was almost, it came natural to me. It was just me being me and doing what I love to do. And that's, I think, the coolest part of it is I found something that I enjoyed just doing, being me.